Good morning, everybody. It is Ira, joined today by Jennifer and Sheila, who will be right back on Rounding the Job Search Bases. What do we do here, Jennifer? Welcome to the show, first of all. But what we do is we take questions from job seekers. We do it in a little bit interesting way because the show, the panel, it changes each week a little bit as people are available. But what we do is we take questions from the perspective of a recruiter, from a resume writer, from a career coach, and I own a job search board called Project Help You Grow. And so we take the question and we answer it from these different perspectives to help the job seekers know what to do, give them advice that will help them hopefully secure a job faster. So this is your first time on the show. Let's do this. Let's give everybody like a 90-second introduction of who you are and what you do, and then they'll better have an idea of what questions to ask for you.
Thanks, Ira. I appreciate it. My name is Jennifer Burks. I am a career consultant specializing in networking and personal branding. So I currently work for an LLC that my husband started. It's called What's Next Career Consultants. Previously, I was a transition assistant for the Virginia Department of Veteran Services. So that is where my expertise comes from, on top of actually being a military spouse and having gone through transition with my husband when he ETS'd. I do assist with, resumes and interview preparation, salary negotiation, but my specialties are personal branding, networking, navigating LinkedIn, understanding how that works and how to make it work for you.
Interesting. I look forward to hearing more about that. I did LinkedIn coaching for a few years, and I do it a little bit on the weekends still. It was something I stopped doing for a while, and then I started doing again. Sheila, what happened? The other one went away.
I know I lost. Hold on.
Hang on, I got you.
All right. I lost connection on my computer for whatever reason, so I jumped off to the other computer.
Yeah, gotcha. Hey, this is a live show. Sometimes stuff happens. We just got an introduction from Jennifer, so we started with that. She was telling us a little bit about her business, what's next. In fact, I have the website up. Hang on just a second, and I will share my screen since we haven't seen that before. We'll take a look at it. All right, so Jennifer, walk us through this a little bit. You've got What's Next Career Consultants here. Tell me a little bit about it. Is there somewhere I should go to show people what you do better, or?
So the first page is pretty simple because when we're in transition, we have so many choices in front of us, so many, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what to ask for. So I actually put up what I call the easy route. You literally answer two questions. One is about your top priority. The other one is about your budget, and it will route you to the service that I offer. Because I do offer so many varied services because we all have varied needs. It may be that you need resume only. It may be that you need branding only. It may be that you need absolutely everything. It may be that you understand the power of networking and LinkedIn, but you just don't want to do it yourself. So I have a package that way too. It's called Hands Off LinkedIn, and I will get to know you very well. We'll do a lot of work together, but I will do the creative part for you.
All right. Well, that sounds good. So how are you helping job seekers? Let's talk about job seekers specifically. That's our main target here on this show.
So people who are in transition are, of course, job seekers. They're just transitioning from the military to the civilian world. So not only are they navigating that culture change, but they're navigating the whole civilian job search process. They may have never written a resume. They may have never read a civilian job description. So we really have to go through everything of how to understand the job description, how to translate your skills from, I call it one culture to another, but it's from military to civilian. Mm-hmm. How to write a resume. It doesn't quite look like maybe the application you drop on a review board, which is kind of their understanding of a job application. So we talk about how to present yourself on a resume, how to translate the skills. Then we move into how to search for a job, which is a whole nother animal because all of the job titles are very, very different than you see in the military. Even if you are a military spouse, you may have been doing things under military names and you may not know what to look for in the civilian world.
Yeah. No, that's certainly a problem for sure. Okay, good. Let's do this. Sheila, your camera, I'm sorry, the banner's just like right across your face. I don't know if you can.
Don't know why.
I know you had the other one set up right there. You go. Thank you. Yeah, it's just one of those like I feel like I'm being rude by having that.
No, you're fine. I'm not exactly sure what is going on with this camera today.
Right.
It's a moment of let's go down. Let's go down. Yeah.
It's early in California, ladies. It's 8:00, so I'm gonna forgive any little technical difficulties. We'll get this right. I've got Jennifer. I've got your website banner scrolling across the bottom.
Oh, thank you.
If you guys want to hop on LinkedIn in the comments, you can actually post these things too in the comments. But people, if you are transitioning or you just want some help, look, she's got a couple other services there. Again, it was networking and LinkedIn assistance and careers and resumes. You can reach out to Jennifer directly. We're happy to have her on the panel. We do have a couple questions already. If you have a question for the show, if you're watching, this is your first time, welcome. We take questions in the order that they are in the comments. So go ahead and if you already know what you'd like to ask, Sheila Jones, if you're not familiar with Sheila Jones, she is a business consultant, but she's also a coach, and she's helped many, many people with their career transitions like Jennifer has from the military. But you don't just work with people in the military, right, Sheila? You work with civilians and I was about to say retired military, but that's not necessarily the right way to say it. But anyways, former full-time military folks that are transitioning into the civilian world, and they need a hand. As Jennifer was talking about, Sheila, was this you? I know I think it was you, but anyways, somebody I know had a client. They were a munitions loader in the military, and transitioning into the into the civilian world, and you're like, okay, well, there's not really munitions loaders jobs open, in the corporate world. So what do? So you help them out, right? I think we talked about soft skills and some of their skills and how it transferred over to the civilian world. Okay, so if you guys have a question, put it in the show. We actually have two. We're going to get started right now. Our first question. And what we normally do, Jennifer, just so you know, is we'll just go pretty much in the same order, but I try to change it up by the week. So we'll have you, since you're new, take a question first, and then we'll go to Sheila, and then I'll wrap it up if there's any meat left on the bone. And the first question that we got was from, I don't know how to say his name. Maiden. I'll say Maiden. If I am mispronouncing that, I apologize. Maiden says, is sales a career a good option? Capital if so, how? Interesting. Okay. Jennifer, would you like to start? You might need to know something about his background, and that's okay. If they don't give you enough information, you can tell them, look,
Yeah, so that question is really impossible to answer. It might be a good option for you if you like talking to people. If you like research, you're going to need to understand your product or your service that you're selling. However, if you're simply asking whether or not money can be made on it, absolutely, yes. We will always need salespeople. But you really have to have the right personality for sales, and you have to be driven because you may have to find your own leads. You may have to make your own schedule. You may have to be on the phone more hours of the day than you want to be. Yeah. So like anything else, I would make a pros and cons list, and I would start talking to a lot of people in sales. Put yourself in their shoes and figure out if that's something you want to do every day.
That is a great point. Let me second that. And I know Sheila's going to nod her head that that's smart. Look, we call that informational interviews. Find people who are doing what you want to do or you think you want to do. Talk to them about it. Ask them for their advice and their opinion. A professional sales rep can sum you up very fast. They can certainly sum you up for their industry because not every industry sales rep is going to be the same. Some actually like, for example, you wouldn't think an introvert would be a good sales rep, but when you're selling to introverts, an introvert can be a great sales rep. Just depends on the industry. So if you're a car salesman, you need a different skill set than you needed as a print salesman, and so forth and so forth and so forth, right? So definitely want to talk to somebody. Oh, we lost Jennifer. Sheila, would you like to add anything to that while we wait for Jennifer to pop on back up?
Yeah, sure. So I think the first thing is really clear. Do you have the personality to do the job of a salesperson?
Yeah.
When you say, yes, I do have that personality, it's like, let's talk about that a little bit deeper. Can you cold call? Can you seek opportunity? Can you take rejection? Can you take people that take forever to make a decision about something? Do you know how to influence them? Do you know how to persuade them to get to the decision making on the thing that you are trying to sell? And once you've sold it, that's the first part of the puzzle. The second part is maintaining that customer. Are you a person that is going to be able to handle a customer complaint? Are you going to be able to handle diffusing, situations that there's a lot of heat, potentially a lot of money involved?
Yeah.
Do you have the backbone to be able to navigate that between your internal organization and the customer who's external? Can you move around in those two spaces? And then I think what's the funny part about sales is, a lot of salespeople are like, hey, I just want to make the sale. The rest of it, I'm going to leave for the organization to figure out, right? The process and all of this stuff. But in sales, you need to be from 0 to 100 in that entire process. So sales is a great opportunity. It's a great job. It's a job segment. But if you are a little weak around the gills to execute those particular things, you may want to rethink that sales or create a development plan, which you're going to build your backbone and spine to make sure that you can do that.
Yeah. So I have an interesting perspective on this because I spent 20 plus years of my life as a professional sales rep, right?
Yep.
So I managed sales teams. I was a director of sales. I was an individual contributor. I've worked in sales in multiple states around the whole country. I've been I've sold in Nevada, California, Texas, and Ohio. That's where I was based out of for my sales roles, right? So the one thing that hasn't really been mentioned, and something I think is pretty critical for most sales, unless you're talking about like a retail sales job, okay? I'm not going to address that in this part of it, but for most sales reps, you need to be a good puzzle solver. You have to be able to take the information that you have and fill in the blanks, and then you have to be able to get other people to see your vision, because frankly, most of it anymore, 60% of sales happen after the client has already done their research. They already know what they want, or they think they know what they want. And sometimes what they want is not the right thing. In fact, a lot of times it's not, because it's like getting the answer from Google, and Google doesn't know everything that you know, especially as you get experience. So you've got to be able to take people who are kind of hell-bent on something and have a budget in mind with something and convince them. I'm not saying lie. A lot of people think salespeople are liars. I think the exact opposite is true. You have to really believe it, and then you have to explain it in a way that you can get people to trust you. Because without that trust, as a professional sales rep, I'm not talking about again, retail transactions, selling cookies on the sidewalk or lemonade on the sidewalk, or cosmetics at a counter. I'm talking about something that can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and like Sheila said, a relationship that hopefully will last for decades. That takes a real relationship, and you've got to be a relationship builder. But one thing that most people don't think about, the sales rep, to Sheila's point, where she talked about inside the organization and outside the organization, you really are a go-between between the two worlds. And a lot of times you'll find yourself kind of as the advocate for the client within your organization. You might be talking to a general manager or production manager or even your sales manager, and having a conversation about what's best for the client. And that doesn't always marry up with what's best for the company. And so then you have to kind of explain both. And the thing that I always hated as a sales rep, I'll just be completely transparent, I didn't mind the cold calling. Thought that was fun, actually. Again, problem solving. The thing that I think a lot of sales reps get stuck in this position and it kind of sucks, honestly. So ask yourself, are you afraid to ask people when they owe money to make
Yeah.
payments? Because most sales organizations, business to business sales, the sales rep will be the first point of contact when the account balance is due or past due. And something that can really, really suck is depending on how your comp plan goes, if they don't pay, you can lose commissions, which is really, if you've already been paid on something and then you have a deduction on a future check because somebody didn't pay, well, that's painful. Anyways, lots of questions. We can't answer your question specifically. I could tell you this: I made a lot of money in sales, and it was a great segue into business ownership because, again, I had to touch all these different things. I had to communicate with production. I had to communicate with customer service. I had to communicate with the ownership suite. I had to go out and find the clients. I had to build those relationships. And all those things served me really well as a business owner. So that wasn't your question. But if you're thinking that, hey, one day I would like to look, all three of us here on the panel are business owners. So if you'd like to join us one day in that ranks of being a business owner, sales is a great, it's a great pathway to take to that. Even though it's funny because I didn't set out to be a business owner. I was just trying to feed my family. So there you go. Is it a great career path? It certainly can be. Is it for everybody? Heck no. Let's do this, Jennifer and Sheila. This is fun. If you had to say a percentage of the population for sales, right? 50-50, 30-70, 60-40. What would you say? What would you, overall? Because we can play the odds a little bit that way.
I'll take the swing of the bat first. So I'm a tier 2 level DISC consultant. And what does that mean? I do a lot of behavioral analysis with the clients that I bring in so that I can understand their personalities as they seek jobs and look for the correct puzzle fit for themselves. The reason I'm saying that is because I have access to that data. It's about 12% that are categorically personality style. They have that inspiring extrovert personality, and it's about 12%. And I'll just add this: 68% of the population is a category that's much more people oriented and much more process control oriented. So you're talking about a small fraction of the population that can function well in the sales role. So I would have a behavioral opportunity analysis, if you can, to figure out, do you come with that innate skill set? And if you don't, how do you build it? How do you build it? Because then you can build any skill set that you're really trying to get to. Just may take some time.
Yeah, if you really want it, like I said, I've had some successful sales reps, some very successful sales reps. I'm talking about top earners in my organization that were introverts. But you have to understand who you are. You have to understand then who you're going after. It's like styles make fights, right? Every once in a while, a lefty comes along and beats the crap out of every righty out there. Why? Because the style. But understanding, like you said, a behavioral assessment. Is there a free resource for that, Sheila?
I do not know of any free resources in the behavioral analysis. There might be some if you Google it. There might be some. I do all of my work through DISC, which is under the licensing of the John Maxwell organization that I'm part of. Yeah. So it's an incredible tool that really can get people thinking about, hey, I'm searching for this job, but I really hate this type of thing. And the reason I'm saying this is because we all want to sleep at night. We want peace of mind. We don't want anxiety and stress. We don't want stuff ruminating in our brains all day long. And if you've got the right career that matches your DNA and skill set, you're going to be successful. You're not going to have stress, not paralyzing stress anyway, but you're going to have this like flow of energy correctly as you seek your career opportunity.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm gonna search for a free resource if I can find one. I might put it on Project Help You Guys website later today.
Yeah,
you can find plenty of free personality assessments that will break down the it's like 4 pillars or something. I can't think of what they're called right now. I'm not surprised that it's 12%, Sheila. I would agree with you, because I think to be a really standout salesperson, you have to understand nonverbal behavior, and you need to be able to read off of that very quickly, which means you need to be an expert in behavior, because you need to adjust according to the other person's nonverbal, and you need to be able to identify their motivation very quickly. If you can't identify their motivation and control the reinforcement, I would say you're going to have a hard time in sales.
Yeah, if you cannot walk into a room and not know anybody and figure out a way to talk to them, you're going to have trouble. And that's probably where the introverts would struggle the most, right? So successful introverts typically will start with a inside sales role. They'll meet a lot of people inside sales, and then they can transition out to a territory that frankly they can farm as opposed to hunt, because it's something that we haven't talked about, but is very common in the sales lingo. There are farmers and hunters. Farmers will nurture relationships they already have. Hunters will go out and say, oh, I want to work with a certain company. Go find people who work in that company and start building relationships from scratch. So I agree with you. It's not for everybody. There's a lot to it, especially, again, if you're talking business to business, expensive, or high ticket items. Man, it's a tough road, but can you make a lot of money? Yes, you can. So again, for free, I call these informational interviews. Find some people who are doing the thing that you think you want to do, or who have already done it and are at the next level. That's even better, in my opinion, right? If you want to do sales, find somebody who's had a good long sales career, but now is like a director of sales or a VP of sales or a CSO, chief sales officer, right? Find someone like that and, just take them to coffee or dinner and say, hey, I'm thinking about getting into sales. I wanted to pick your brain a little bit. Is that okay? Right. And then, a lot of times if you do that right, they'll take you under their wing, and then you have a potential mentorship that can happen, which is really good, because then a lot of times they'll open up their Rolodex. Look at me, Rolodex still, but they'll open up their contacts to you and maybe make some introductions that can make your life easier, or they'll give you some real world smackdown. The truth hurts, but it's better than wasting a lot of your time and effort, right? Trying to go down a path that probably isn't for you. We spent a lot of time on that question, but I think it was good information. Here's one that I see every single day. Drives me crazy. I've applied for 300 resume. I've applied approximately 300 resume, but did not get a single interview call. Now, before we lambast him, he didn't tell us how long, right? That could be over a 2-year period, and that wouldn't be so bad. But, and I'm not going to even attempt this name because I do not want to butcher it. But brother, if you have done this in like a month or 2 months or 3 months, like I'm assuming you probably have, because a lot of people do this, that's where your major mistake is. So instead of lambasting him for that, let's just do this. Let's talk about the difference between customizing a resume and the shotgun approach. We could just talk about it from a high level. I don't want to pick on anybody specifically, but a lot of times the reason why you're not getting interview calls is because you're putting these resumes out too fast. We call that the shotgun approach. Jennifer, we're going to let you go first. Let's do like 30 seconds on this one, because I don't want to overdo it.
Yeah, so there actually are some ATS systems that if you apply too close together or too many times, your subsequent applications won't go anywhere because they haven't finished the first ones. But as far as what Ira is talking about, tailoring a resume is to your benefit, but it also shows that you respect the job description, that you have read it, and that you're not trying to waste someone's time. It is very obvious when you pick up a resume that has not been tailored to the job description, and that goes in the no pile right away. You need to make sure that it matches up. This is not a copy and paste, but you simply need to look at the job description. They're asking you a question. How have you done this? Tell me on your resume. That's the short and fast of tailoring a resume.
Yeah, and Sheila, let's talk about keywords too, right? In these things.
Yeah, I think there's a couple ways to think about it. If you're in the shotgun approach, are you really even reading the job description? Like, are you really reading the job description? And I say this to people that I work with all the time, is people that are in companies often spend a lot of time crafting the job description, because it is the skill set that they want. Okay. Like it is the skill set that they want, the skill set that needs to fit into the company, fit into the job, fit in and make it work. Now, if you're just like, hey, I think I can do this job, boom, and you send a resume out, it's not going to work right. The key words that are in those job descriptions are the key words that you need to link up to. So if I say to you, hey, this job is 50% sales, and you have no role, responsibility, or have a proven track record in sales, it could be rather difficult for you to even get even a response back. Because to Jennifer's point, it's just going to go in the ATS system. It's not going to bubble up. It's not going to come up to the hiring managers or anybody that's in the organization to make a decision approach. So unfortunately, the thing of, hey, I submitted 300, this seems like a great approach, but the reality of it is it's not that great of approach. One is about strategic laser precision. The other is about a bunch of raindrops hitting the field and hoping that it hits a seed out there that's in the field. It's just not the best way to do it.
I always tell people, like, look, man, you can't continue to search for a job like it's 1995. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Right? Well, they used to call it Kinko's where I'm from. Some people might know it as FedEx Kinko's. That was actually after Kinko's was bought out by FedEx. But the idea was we would spend our time with some resume writer. They would create this master resume, which are still in use. Master resumes still exist, but it's different. Okay. And then we would go to a print shop of some sort, get some fancy linen resume paper, right? It's, usually linen, a little bit heavier. You could feel it. It was almost always some type of a gray or a blue. And we put it in our briefcase. And then we would take our crisp Sunday classified ad paper and we drive around town and we drop off the same resume and maybe cover letter too, right, that we had written. And that's how we would do it. Well, the fact is, this was before computers. This was before the ATS. And this was at a time where that was acceptable. Now you take that master crafted resume and you save that as your default, but then you, again, tailor is the word. Some of the tailoring is going to be the nomenclatures. So in the job description or the JD, right, you're going to pull out a keyword. Like, let's go back to sales for a second, ladies. So not everybody calls it sales. Some people call it what? They call it account executive. Or business development, BD is, and some of them call it business development manager, which is interesting to me because I'm Bowman Digital Media, so it's the same acronym as my business. But right, so if you're reading a sales job, you're applying for sales, and they use the term business development, and you don't have the word business development anywhere in your resume. First of all, you're not going to keyword match, but also to Jennifer's point, they know that you didn't read or respect, because it could be either. You didn't read or respect their job description. Why wouldn't you want to show them your effort? Because look, I'm going to tell you, part of the reason why people don't get hired is they never flip the script in their mind and look at the point of view of the person hiring them. And that's actually the problem. And let me tell you, if you're a sales rep and you're having trouble with that, you should get into another field. You're not cut out for sales if you can't consider the other person's point of view, because that's a lot of what sales is. Understanding what motivates them and what drives them, what problems they have from their perspective, and then resolving those issues. That's what sales really is, folks. So
by the way, that's an excellent soft skill. He's describing emotional intelligence.
EQ. Love it, right? But that's what you need for sales. It is 100% what you need for sales. Now, I will tell you this, as a job seeker, you're a sales rep, whether you realize it or not. Who's your product? You your product. Who you got to sell it to? The person that's interviewing you. You got to tell them that you're the solution. They put the job description out because they have a problem they need to fill, and you might be it. And if you can't sell them that you are it, one of the 3,000 other people who applied in 24 hours, they're going to try and sell them, right?
Yeah, I think
that might be a slight exaggeration, but not by much. I've had 3,000 people apply for a job in less than 4 hours before. I had just turned a job on. I had to go turn it off because I was like, wow, I don't need 3,000 people to fill this one role. I can find somebody pretty fast. So hopefully that helps you. with that question, that 300, you feel like you've done all this work. And actually, I'm going to tell you, you've wasted all your time. If you've done 300 interview or 300 applications in a month, you've wasted your time. You don't have a hope in hell of getting an interview. Why? Because you haven't shown us anything that's going to separate you from the pack. There are people out there like me who will spend all week working on one interview application process. I'm going to put in one submission. What am I doing with all of that time? You know what I'm doing? A whole hell of a lot of research. That's
Yep.
what I'm doing. I'm
Yep.
researching the company. I'm researching the industry. I'm researching their competitors. I'm researching the people who are going to interview me. I want to know what their work culture is like. I want to know the history of their company. I'm going to talk about all of that. And I'm not exaggerating this at all. I never have to interview for jobs more than once or twice. I get jobs so fast because when I go in there, I know what the product is. It's me, and I sell it. And I'm a professional sales rep. That's my job, right? So most people don't have a chance against me interview where I'm remotely qualified. Because think about what I just said: a whole week to do one application. Now sometimes I'll do two, but that's about it. Now, I teach people when they ask me, you can do as much as one a day if you do this right, right? It depends on what you're doing. Depends on your level, right? Closer to entry level, you don't need a week for that, right? Closer to director level, you're talking C level. First of all, if you're C level, you should have yourself an executive uh, coach, right? You need a headhunter helping you. Someone like Sheila, someone like Jennifer helping you.
Yeah.
You need some help. You
I'm
shouldn't
gonna-
be doing it by yourself.
I feel compelled to add on to what you're saying here is
Yeah, do
I
it.
I just helped a young college kid go from, his part-time college jobs to corporate job in at Comcast, and he's like, I'm going to do this, and I was like, no. First thing we need to do is you need to understand this company inside and out.
Yeah.
You need to know what kind of business segment they're in, what products they're selling, all of this type of stuff, because this is a strategic approach. I only want you to interview for one job, and I want you to get that job. If that's
I'm
the
gonna-
job you want, that's the job that we want to prepare you for.
I'm going to pull up. I actually just sent this to somebody who isn't a job search, but they had never heard the expression. They had never heard the expression time block manager. Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. Right. So block scheduling. They had never heard this. So I'm like, okay, I wrote an article, but here it is. It's called Block Schedule for Job Seekers. I can put this in the comments here if you guys want. All right, I can't really talk and type at the same time. That is not one of my skills. All
You
right.
don't get that mastered yet, Ira? Come on, man.
Yeah, I know, right? So, anyways, I just put that in the comments if you want to find it. Okay. Well, why do I bring this up? Because I will teach you as a job seeker how to spend your time.
Right.
But in here, you're gonna find out that I teach you how to do research in here, right? So, like, what are you doing? Let's just go through it real quick. Subdivide your time into time blocks. So here's mine: 8 to 9:45. That's 1 hour and 45 minutes. You're gonna research your vertical market and your industry for new trends. Why? Because when you're talking to somebody in an interview and you're talking about new trends, that's impressive. They're like, oh, he's up on or she's up on what's current. I give you a break from 10 to noon. You're going to look at job listings. That's 2 hours, but you're not going to apply to a single job, right? So you're going to get on your favorite website. It could be Project Help You Grow or whatever, wherever, but do not apply to anything yet, right? I make sure to point that out. And then from noon to 12:30, you get a 30-minute lunch break. And then from 12:30 to 2, we're going to get social. Why? Because who you know is every bit as important as what you know and your qualifications in the job search. Because a lot of times you're not getting a job. Let's be honest. You're not getting a job through a job board. You're getting a job because somebody recommended you or you know somebody inside because of the volume of applications. It's definitely helpful to go around the ATS, even though you still have to go through it eventually. You go around the gatekeeper a little bit straight to a hiring manager or a director in that, and then they guide you over. And a lot of companies still have the the internal employee referral program, right? Where employees are referring people and they're getting some type of bonus, but those get paid to close attention to by the internal HR usually, right? From 2 to 4, you're going to look at those job listings and then I teach you how to go through it and do some editing. And then from 4 to 5 is skills development. Why? Because again, what you know is not unimportant. What you know is still important. So keep up on certs, do training, don't get lazy. If you've had an extended job search past 6.5 months, which is the average time a job seeker takes looking for a job. So let's say you're in 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. It's easy to get lazy and sloppy. Your skills start to go away, evaporate. That's just natural. So I put in there time every day, Monday through Friday, that you work on that stuff so you stay sharp. It'll help you mostly with your mind. It's mostly going to be an antidepressant because you're still going to feel relevant. I've been outside of print sales now, ladies, for 3 years. If I had to step into that role today, I would have a bucket load of rust that I would have to shake off. I'm behind on the technology because I have not kept up with it. I've kept up with other stuff. So again, that's how I recommend it. You can do it however you want, but it gives you an idea of the pace that we're talking about and also the overall health, because a lot of times people are focused on just one. Like we talked about LinkedIn earlier. Jennifer can help you a little bit with your LinkedIn if you need it. Sometimes people spend 8 hours a day just on LinkedIn. So they're cooking LinkedIn hard and heavy. So they've got the relationship building hopefully down if they're doing that right. But they've forgotten about the industry that they're in and the trends that they're in and the skills that they're in. And they probably feel like this comment smacks of desperation, right? I mean, that's why I didn't want to pick on him too hard. I've applied approximately 300 resume, but did not get a single interview call. That guy is frustrated. And that, if it isn't depression already, that's where that leads. That leads to depression because you're like, man, I'm doing everything I can to do this, and it's not working. Help. This is a cry for help. So my answer to you is go check out that article and start doing something, even if you don't follow my advice exactly, and that's okay. I'm not the world's foremost expert on any of this stuff. That's just my advice. Do something like it. Talk to somebody like Jennifer or Sheila, get some help. You're watching the show. We appreciate it. We got a couple hellos here, Cindelli and Will. Will is actually part of my truth community I'm a part of. Good morning, Will. I'm not 100% sure what this one says. I'll let you guys see if you can figure out what it means. It says, I seen very less job of retail in loss prevention departments. Why is this less opportunity in the market? I think I understand. I worked at Target in high school, and we had a security team, right? I think what he's saying is there's less security jobs inside like Target and Macy's and Sears and stuff. You guys want to talk about that? I have an idea now.
My guess would be that it's being more automated, less humans, more AI.
Yeah, I think that could be certainly part of it. How about you, Sheila? Less security, loss prevention, I think is what a lot of these places would call it.
Yeah, so I think there's a few ways to look at this. I used to work at Walmart and corporate Walmart, and there was always a lot of conversation on shrink, like what is occurring, what theft is occurring in the stores, who is stealing it. Like, let's be honest, it can be customers, it can be employees, it can be, whatever, right? And what I would say is this: there's been a lot of different technology advancements in the space. And that every time a technology advancement occurs or is installed in a retail location in particular, it shrinks the job market for loss prevention. So if you start seeing, high theft areas that are now camerized within the aisles, what you're seeing is a opportunity for technology to be put in place that shrinks that loss prevention space. So there might be a couple ways if you are really interested in loss prevention. There might be a few ways for you to seek an entry into that area. And one of those could be to some of the companies that sell the equipment or the technology that is automated for loss prevention. So just don't think of loss prevention as you being in the store. Think of it in totality. There's store positions, there's camera positions, there's technology that's being created there's installation of these materials, there's strategic data positions that are all associated to loss prevention. So don't think of it just as I am the person in the store. It's an entire business segment. So
Yeah.
look at it holistically and figure out best where your skill sets are in that space.
My friend who actually, okay, so I run, I'm in the ministry, audio visual ministry at my church, and my teammate Brady works for a company that's what they do. His whole job basically is going around the country. They install security cameras and the networks, the fiber optics, all that stuff. They install it in these locations.
Yep.
And so there's a business, a whole business. They don't work for Walmart, right? And I don't actually know if Walmart's one of their clients. I don't think they are. But anyways, they go to places like Best Buy or whatever, right? And they install this stuff. And so instead of working for the store, now they work for a company that's, outsourced. It's a vendor, 1099 vendor of the company. Anyways, the other thing I wanted to say to that, there's just less retail happening
Yeah.
across the board.
A lot of online.
So, again, staying up on vertical trends, what's happening in the world of retail. I would not want to have my future be tied to retail's future right now, because retail is Sheila used the word shrinkage, which means theft, whether that's internal or external. In fact, most of that stuff, as Sheila will tell you, is a lot of times it's internal anyways. But the not theft, but just the overall volume of retail dollars is going down, 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 down. Every dollar you spend on Amazon is a dollar less that's going to retail, right? Like, remember Barnes and Nobles and all the bookstores that used to exist everywhere? It was kind of a fun thing. I used to like it. Going to a bookstore. There was even sometimes coffee shops and stuff inside the bookstores, which made it a fun place to be, right? You don't see that nearly as much. It's just industries change. This is what I mean by trends. Some trends are going up and some trends are coming down. Retail's trend is definitely on the downswing. Sabrina is a rock star. All right. If you guys are looking for a virtual assistant, she is a former intern of mine, but she is so much more than that. She's down there in Florida, and if you need help, she specializes in the music industry, but she can help you with whatever industry you're in. If you need a virtual assistant from the United States, get with Sabrina, my friend. But she has a question for us, which I always appreciate because she's very intelligent. And she says, how do you get unstuck when writing a cover letter? And how do you sell yourself effectively with a cover letter? Jennifer, we're going to let you go first on that.
So I'm not sure what you mean by unstuck, Sabrina. Maybe writer's block. My workaround for that is leave the computer. Go talk to yourself, talk to your plants, talk to your dogs, whatever. I find that as we just let our mind flow, we find clarity. So I tend to walk around with my voice recorder on my phone on, and I just talk to myself an awful lot. I have a lot of epiphanies right before I go to bed or right when I wake up. And so I have a notepad everywhere, literally everywhere. As far as selling yourself, it's all about storytelling. Your cover letter is very, very different than your resume. So your resume needs to be very regimented, very professional, what I call very cold. But your cover letter, you get to show your passion and why you're a good fit and why you chose them, that you actually looked into their company, that you actually like the company, that you actually have a personal connection to the company, not you're spraying and praying. So
the shotgun approach doesn't work on cover letters.
Yeah,
Come on.
I would say just kind of take the gloves off a little bit. Be yourself. Let your personality show, because that is what is going to win you the interview.
Sabrina, channel your inner Ira.
There you go.
I say that only because she knows me. She knows. All right, Sheila.
I'm just going to go back to this whole thing about the spraying piece, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to go back to the guy that I was working with for the Comcast position. The first thing I said is, what do you know about Comcast and how is it interrelated to your life? And guess what I uncovered? For 20 years, his family has been a Comcast customer.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so that's number one. That's a direct association.
I'm pulling up your website, by the way.
Yeah, it's cool. Then I said, what is the most memorable experience you have had watching Comcast? And you know what he said? Right away. Every year at Christmas, we watch specific shows as a family. So I understand the streaming and entertainment side of the business pretty well. We've created amazing memories as a family hanging out on the couch. Just so happens he's one of three. He's a triplet. So can you imagine, can you imagine telling the story like, hey, for 20 years, my family's been watching Comcast. I have so many amazing annual Christmas memories of watching, whatever, Charlie Brown or whatever that is. And I have this, when I think about that, that's why I want to come work for your company. Right. Yeah. And if you can't, to Jennifer's advice here is you got to make that personal connection. You got to tell them that you already are in love with that company, like by their products or by the things that they sell or the services that they have or how they treat people or whatever that looks like.
Why not the competition is what she was saying here, right? Why this specific company? Well, with Comcast over Spectrum or AT&T or whoever, because 20 years we've been, sitting on the couch, me and my other two brothers, the triplets. I'm assuming they're all boys, right?
Yeah.
It's okay. That's part of it. Now, I want to do two things. Okay, I'm gonna do three things. First of all, I'm gonna throw a flyer at you guys, and we're gonna continue this conversation a little bit more than Sabrina's question. When you're submitting an electronic application, I always recommend a cover letter unless it specifically says do not. Okay. But if it says do not, then again, respect the job description and, understand that they don't want it. So if you do it, you're irritating them. Okay. So I'm a default yes, but I always follow the instructions of the job description. For example, I don't use PDFs for my resume when I'm submitting it. I use a Word doc because antiquated ATS programs struggle with the OCR. That's the optical character recognition for those of you who are interested in scanning those PDFs. So it submits a blank, and that could be a problem. So I use a Word by default, unless it says, send me the PDF. Again, you follow the instructions of the job description. But what I'm recommending people do, take your cover letter, make a video out of it, and submit both the paper and the video. Why? Because not everybody will watch it. In fact, probably most of them won't, but some of them will. And if you're on the fence, what does the cover letter really do? It's like if a person's a solid interview, yes, the cover letter is probably not going to hurt you much, whether you write a good one or a bad one. But if a candidate is there on the cut line, it's a stretch a little bit. Then the cover letter becomes really important, right? But what's the cover letter doing? It's giving you an opportunity to answer any elephant in the room questions. Like, this looks like a stretch from your resume, but your cover letter could address it and go, look, I know you were asking for this, and I technically don't have that, but I have this other thing, and it's how I see it. I'm making a case. I'm selling myself, right? And the reason why I like the video is because it allows you to do something even more than what the paper will do, and that's give you the nonverbal communication. So you can show them a little bit your excitement, your passion for working. Let's just go with Sheila's reference, Comcast, or whoever you happen to want to come work for. You want to come work for Bowman Digital Media. By all means, if you're not a passionate person, you're probably not making it to the front door, because we do everything high energy around here. So here's my question, ladies. Length of cover letter, right? We talking one page? Yeah. So what I typically, and I agree with that, I'm typically like 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs, only if your paragraphs are like, 3 sentences, 4 sentences tops, and you're using like 25 words or less per sentence. You definitely want to, you don't want to make it so much. And people always ask me about this, like, why? And I'll tell you from my point of view, it's about fatigue. They're going to have, 200 to 1,000, resumes that they're going through. They just, it's not that they want to disrespect you. Bottom line is they want to, read everything right, but they're real people, and they're recruiters are underappreciated in the fact of how much work they really have to do when they're going through job applications, job
So
applicants?
when I submit a cover letter, I have a couple of paragraphs briefly describing why I am qualified more than someone else and why I'm passionate about it. But then I actually do the recruiter's job for them. I create a grid. I take the employer's requirements and I put my requirements that meet or exceed right next to it. So it's
Yeah.
right there in their face. That also helps with the fatigue because I'm adding white space. So
Yeah.
it looks like they're reading less.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. That's a great pickup tip on that. Sheila, what do you want to add?
I'm going to ask you a quick question, Ira. You said something, and I want to make sure we go backwards. So I apologize relative to the cover letter, but it's directly connected. You said do a digital, do a
Video.
a video,
Yeah.
and I don't want people to lose track of that because a cover letter is still a paper document. It's it's still there, but when I have a paper document, I consider that very one dimensional, right? I don't get to see your face. I don't get to see your energy. I don't get to hear your communication skills. I don't get to see or hear some of the pieces and parts that may be important. So, Ira, when you say digital, how would a person that's watching this job show today execute a digital video that's connected to that? That's how would you coach somebody to do that right here on the show today?
Let me show you, right? So great question. And here's the answer for you guys who don't have LinkedIn's creator mode turned on. I want you to go and turn it on right now because you don't have to have any special skill sets to be a creator. Just turn it on. You're going to pick up a few things. One of the things you're going to pick up is this featured section. Now, all of you should know by now, if you don't, that you can use Zoom for free, right? One-on-one meetings or by yourself. So when you say, how would I execute it? The first thing that I would do is I would go on to Zoom and just turn on your recorder. And I suggest 90 to 180 seconds. That's a minute and a half to 3 minutes. No more than that. For those of you who like to gab like I do, and believe me, I can talk a whole hour by myself without taking a single question. And maybe not even a breath, frankly. But you gotta know exactly what you're gonna say. So to Jennifer's point, why do I want to work here? What makes me qualified? This is what I would say. Read the job description, understand why you're qualified, get a little bit of the passion in there through Sheila's Comcast example or whatever it is, why you want to be a graphic designer or why you want to be in sales or why you want to be a resume writer, whatever it is that you do, right? Get that in 90 seconds to 180 seconds. You record it on your computer. You now have it as a MP4 and you send that along with. Now, some of them aren't going to accept it and that's okay. It's just an extra piece, but it's going to show that you go the extra mile. It's going to show to a little bit that you really want it and that you're not just going with the bare minimums. That's one of the things that I was always looking for when I was hiring somebody is I wanted to see passion. I wanted to see that they actually not just wanted a paycheck, but wanted to work for me or the specific company. Like I wanted to see that. So those are the clues that can help a job interviewer know about a job applicant. Like this, the worst thing in the world that happens is when you go through the hiring process and you pick somebody, they start, and then you find out the only thing they really wanted was a paycheck. They were just good at selling themselves. They didn't really care about the job. You can see it in the way that they work, their performance. So these are the clues that help. Now, even if they don't accept the MP4, the video, the reason why I bring this up, why I showed this. So now what you want to do with that featured section, you can have one just like a master resume.
Yep.
You can have a generic one, again, up to 3 minutes only, and put that right there in the very first. Every job seeker out there, if you're a job seeker and you don't have this right here, a video in the first slot, telling us a little bit about you, showing us your personality. Look, especially, I'm going to talk to some specific I know that we have in this crowd. You live here and you want to move there, right? One of the things the video can allow you to do, and it should be on your cover letters for sure, what makes you so sure that you want to go from India to Canada, for example? Because you're talking really an extreme culture change, environmental change. So one of the ways I know for a fact that you're serious about this is when you stop saying Canada. when you start saying like Toronto or Quebec or Vancouver, now I'm starting to see specificity that helps me understand that that's more serious. Plus, also, let's say you speak French and you communicate a little bit in French because I want to move to the French Quarter in Quebec. Okay. Well, if I'm from, California, I want to put a little French in my video so that people in Quebec understand that I not only say I can speak French, I can not only read French, but I can communicate in French. You understand what I'm saying? So you add a little bit of that spice of life. You put that in the first. Why? Because most, I'm not going to say all, but I am going to say most, before someone's going to hire you, not necessarily before they're going to interview you, but before they're going to hire you, most people are going to eventually end up at your LinkedIn profile at this point, especially for white collar type jobs. For blue collar jobs, it's not true, right? But for white collar jobs, a lot of people will come and look. And if you look, it's an extra sales pitch. It's an opportunity for them to get to see your personality. Plus, it shows a little bit of your proficiency to LinkedIn, because you don't just have a resume. You have adapted to what LinkedIn has become, a business social media platform where people actually communicate about all kinds of stuff, not just, showing off their skills and I'm not saying that your certificates and your referrals and your work history is not important and your about isn't important. Of course it is. It will always be a part of LinkedIn, but it is not the only thing. And so you're showing off a lot of things there. You're giving yourself more than a puncher's chance of landing that job. Boy, that was a long-winded answer, but there you go.
But what you're saying here is that some things are the same and some things are different. Use every tool that you have to put yourself out there correctly. Like if you show savviness in certain areas and you show the ability to do this kind of stuff, these are the things that separate people out. I'm not kidding. I mean, I help people every single day secure jobs, and I'm looking for every tool that I can to help them move forward.
Yeah. Well, I like to stay one step ahead of the trends. Look, I get a lot of people who imitate me because this is how my brain works. But videos are not common yet. They're still not common. But everybody, look, I'm gonna tell you, I'm an SEO guy. I'm a digital marketing owner. I can tell you that 80%, it's actually a little bit higher than 80%, but it's in the 80th percentile of all internet use ends up on a video somewhere, whether that's YouTube or wherever else. People, they just are drawn to, like gravity. They're drawn to video. It's
the attention span. Our attention span is getting much, much shorter. If you do put up a video, you should target about 30 to 60 seconds.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what you're doing with it. Like I said, 90 seconds to 3 minutes. That's my recommendation for this. Every video is a little bit different. When you're talking about making a post or something like that, I absolutely agree. It's funny, though, if you want to be found in mass on YouTube through YouTube search, the search engine, it's actually 7.5 minutes plus is what they recommend to get on the.
Depends on your demographic. If you're talking about very young people.
Well, shorts are certainly super popular, like the reels and the shorts and all that for every platform. So certainly 30 seconds is great for all of those. So again, it just depends on your objective, but definitely utilize video, folks, if you're not. And if you're not good at it, if you're not comfortable with it, you can practice. You can record those things as many times as you need. Zoom, you're the only person in the room, so the only person can see it. And again, if you're still not sure of what, hey, how will this go? That's, again, informational interview. You go to a mentor, go to a friend, somebody that you trust, and say, hey, can you watch this for me real quick and let me know what you think and get some feedback. It's worth practicing to execute them correctly because I don't think it will break you, but it could hurt you. This is one of those things that could be counterproductive. If you've done a really good job writing your resume and cover letter and you're awful on video, they might go, ooh, I don't know, culture fit, maybe not so much. So you want to get comfortable with it. But we've all been using Zoom for so long now. I think that most of you should be relatively comfortable with it. Anyways, we could talk about that more some other time. We are in overtime. So let's see if we have any more. Sabrina has said, and if your cover letter is a 3-minute read or less, you could use it verbatim 100%.
Yeah.
So she's talking about a script for your video, and you absolutely could. Yeah, she clarifies it here, right? So again, I would recommend that you do a different video for each. Just to be clear, I'm talking about a video as part of your submission package for each job submission. Again, it's why I do one a week and not one a day or one every 5 minutes to get to 300. I know people who will do 300 in a day, and I'm like, you are never going to get a job. I know what you're thinking. You're spreading your seed far and wide. But to Jennifer's point that she made early on in the in this episode, there are ATSs out there. There's a lot of them actually that will limit. It's usually 6 months is the time frame. A lot of the default ATS in the ATSs, and there's so many ATSs out there. You have to know which one they're using. But the default for almost all of them that I know of, set when they have that in place, is 6 months. So if you apply to more than one job at the same company, they're gonna automatically knock you out. It's like a knockout question. You're just not eligible. You're already in their system, is what they're thinking. They don't need to duplicate the record. So they've already got a record of you. It's 6 months usually, and so if you apply to 3 jobs, they're going to take the first one, and the other 2 are going to get kicked out. We never talked about knockout questions on this show. We should do that next week maybe. But let's do this. Let's wrap this up. I think we got all the questions in. If I skipped your question, I apologize. Ask us again next week. But I always want to do this. Sheila and Jennifer, let's give a tip of the day. Just something we haven't talked about, or if you want to expand on something, it's player's choice. Let's just give them one final nugget, and I'm going to bring up your website on the screen one more time. So for Jennifer, if you'd like to find more Jennifer, you can go to militarywhatsnext.com. That's where you can find her. Jennifer, your tip of the day, my friend.
My tip is stop sending out so many resumes and start telling us who you are. Start using social media, whatever platform you really use, and start standing out. That's what's going to make you competitive.
100%. I second that. Sheila's nodding.
Yeah.
Sheila.
Yeah.
To find Sheila, you go to Wicked Results. Those are better than average, my friends. Those are wicked. Like wicked awesome. All right, wickedresults.com. Sheila, what is your tip of the day, my friend?
So this morning I was on the phone with a client of mine, and this is the 3rd time that we've been on the phone, and we're not making very much progress because the person is looking at every single word and revisiting that word and changing the word again and changing the word again. And I'm just like, okay, we got to rise up and deliver the message. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't be specific and intentional and very selective of the words, but if it is taking weeks and weeks and weeks to write 3 sentences about yourself, then you need to stop. You need to take a breath. You need to take a break. And you need to decide how you want to present yourself at the highest level. So while you may be in this high-paced mode to find a job and you feel like moving at a rapid rate is going to benefit you, it doesn't. Take a moment, stand back, take a walk in the woods, and say, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to tell somebody about myself that they don't know about? And if you're like, I don't remember if it was 10 times I did this or 11 times I did this, don't paralyze yourself in that 10 or 11. Pick an approximate number and go forward. That's my message today, because I just came right out of that, right into this job show today. And I'm like, wow, we got to get moving with this person. But they're still like really paralyzed in the minutia of the content versus being able to say, this is the job I did. This is how I contribute. These are my strengths. This is what I did for the company that I worked for before.
Yeah. The car method for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
My name is Ira. If you don't know, I run a job board. It's free job search assistance. It works around the world. Somebody asked me in the comments, can you support India? Yes, I do every single day. ProjectHelpYouGrow.com. It's free. You don't need any money. And it's open 24/7, 365 days a year, 366 in a leap year. So you can find it there. It's on the screen. Project Help You Grow has been around for 5 years now. So I'm proud of that effort. My tip for you guys, I'm gonna take this back to sales. Okay, you're selling yourself. The longer your job search goes, the harder depression can sink in, right? It bites on you. So one thing I want you to do is get out there and talk to somebody. Have an accountability partner, have a friend, have a couple friends that you talk to just to make sure that you are understanding your value as a human being is not just what's coming in on that check. Okay. You can separate the two. Your value as a human being is not tied to your paycheck. It shouldn't be. It isn't. So get that straight in your mind. Here's why. I've been married for going on 23 years. It'll be 23 years in June. Okay. But I remember when I was dating, even though it's getting farther and farther in my rear view. When I would meet a lady or a young lady who came across as desperate, didn't interest in me, right? Didn't interest me at all. Why? You want someone who exudes confidence. Now, my wife, the very first thing she said to me, and I'm not making this up, she said, quote unquote, "That's a little chauvinistic, isn't it?" She got me good. My face turned pink. Who knows what shade of pink? But the whole thing is, if you're a job seeker or if you're selling or for whatever, if you come across as desperate, not as many people are going to be interested in buying that, right? You got to come across with some confidence. So you need to be confident. And so you need to have things outside of the job search in your life that you're excelling at, whether that be a hobby. I like to take photographs, for example. Now I do that also for a living, but I don't get paid for every picture I take. In fact, I get paid for very few of the pictures I take, in full disclosure, right? But do something that you enjoy, that you're good at, to help you with your confidence level. Because I will tell you this, the more confident you are, the more in demand you appear to be, the less likely you're going to be on the job search market for a long time. People want to see that confidence exuding from you because that's part of human psychology. We talked about emotional intelligence or EQ earlier. This is part of it, right? Understanding that people don't want to buy from a person who's desperate. They want to hire somebody who is confident. Why? Because they have a culture and they don't want to disrupt the culture of their company by bringing you into it. It's one of the reasons why people struggle with finding a job in a foreign country. Because again, how are you, an outsider with, different everything, how are you going to engage and disrupt potentially the apple cart? That's a question. It's legitimate. So there you go. Try not to let desperation smack you in the face. I know it can be tough when you are searching for an extended period of time. Like I said, the average job search was before, pre-COVID-19, it was 6.5 months. That was the average job search length as a whole, right? Industries vary depending on skill level and entry level and all that stuff, right? But 6.5 months was the average length of time. I know it's longer than that now, but I don't know if it's a year or 11 months or whatever it is. But it's not a day, right? So you might think, man, I've been searching for a job forever and it's been 3 weeks. Like, no, man, you're just getting started. But if you take the time, you've watched this show to digest what we've said, get some great tips from Jennifer and Sheila today. If you digest that and then put into action the advice that they've given, and even more that's available on their websites and projecthelpyougrow.com.
Yes.
You'll find a better job faster. You'll find a job. You'll learn how to negotiate your salary. You'll learn how to write your resume. You'll learn how to prepare for the interview. All these things that will help you find a better job faster, but you don't have to go through the job search, hopefully, as fast. You'll find something that fits you, that you love, that pays you what you need, so that you can stay there and be stable. Anyways, that's all of our time. We will be back next week. Same time. It starts at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's 8 a.m. for all the sleepyheads in California, like me. But we're here every Wednesday. The panel does change because people have stuff that they have to do. But our panelists include Well, we're actually looking for a new recruiter. Our recruiter had to, she had a time issue. So we're looking for a recruiter. So if you're a recruiter and you're watching the show, and you'd like to join us on stage as a panelist, reach out to me and I'll talk to you about the opportunity. And then we'll see if we can get you up on here too. But recruiters, career coach, resume writers, and I am a job search website owner, whatever we say that. I don't know, job board, I think is how we say it in the advertisement. We try to answer your questions from all different perspectives to give you the best advice we can so that you can land that job faster. It is free. Put your questions always in the comments and we take them as they come. Thank you very much, Jennifer. It was a pleasure. This is our first time meeting, so it's a pleasure meeting you today. Sheila, as always, my friend, it was awesome. And I'll see you ladies next week.
All right. Bye. Good luck, everyone.